so we have two questions at once. Who wants to go first? Okay, I'll answer your question. Yes. An excellent question. How large of a community would this be? We based this town, or this recreation, off of a town called Paspahegh. Paspahegh town, or Paspahegh tribe, had about 30 or so Yahakans in it. And that was kind of an average-sized town. We only rebuilt 5 because we only wanted to do maintenance for 5. But yes, so that was an average-sized town. There were smaller, villages and whatnot, as well as larger cities almost. For example, the city of Werowocomoco had about 200 Yahakans, apparently. And that's still an ongoing archaeological dig. So yeah, good question. What was your question? An excellent question. The houses are going to be built with a sapling framework tied together with rope. And that rope's generally made out of plant fibers, things like dog's bane, yucca, tree bark, that kind of stuff, twisted together. And then the outside covering would have been made up of what the English describe as rush reeds. So things such as cattail or bulrush that have been woven together to make mats. And so that's going to be covering it. And there are some occasions mentions of bark coverings, but most of them seem to be this kind of rush. So yeah, hopefully that is. Anyone else? Any other questions? Yes. Yes, they are. And I think I mentioned this briefly at the Dance Space Circle. There are currently 8 tribes that were once part of the Powhatan Chiefdom that are still around today. And we still try to keep in contact with them as best as we can.
Where are?
All over the place. Yeah, there are two reservations, but not everyone in those tribes lives on the reservations. So.
How many?
I'm sorry, you'll have to speak up, ma'am.
How many were in one of these?
How many people lived in a Yahakan? Yes. Each Yahakan would have had a family in it, and each family tended to be somewhere between 6 to 12, to even 20 people in some cases. It ranged quite it was quite a very big range. The house size, it needs to be big enough to house enough people to sleep in there, but you have to keep in mind that they would not live in these houses like you or I would, where they spend a lot of time and stuff. The house that you walked through would be somewhere on the larger side of that scale, maybe not the 20, but somewhere on the higher side. Yes? Diseases that they had to deal with. The English don't really talk that much about diseases that the Powhatan had to deal with. Apparently, the Powhatan talk about having dealt with disease before the English even arrived. Which makes sense, because there had been European explorers in this region before the English built the colony here, and there had been Spanish explorers further south, and these tribes are not isolated from one another. They traded within each other and traded outside. So disease certainly spread to the Powhatan before the English arrived, and apparently actually wiped out a fair bit of their population even before the English arrived. So like I said, we don't know a whole lot about, the English don't really talk that much about the diseases that the Powhatan dealt with when they were there, but they mentioned that there were diseases before. All right, folks, what we're going to do is we're going to head on back the way we came. We're going to loop around and take a look at the fort and see their side of the story, as it's always important to see both sides of any story. Yes? I'll answer your question while we're walking, so if you could kind of join me up here in the front, we'll go on.